Made it back for the first presentation after the break, leading up to our drinks this afternoon. Who's sticking around for drinks today? Who knows about drinks today? Fabulous. No, well, I'm waiting for that because there's a couple more just brown cows coming in down the back door. Jackson, since I don't have my program in front of me, lad, who is sponsoring drinks this afternoon?
Stewie.
He's popped into his pocket there. I should have just gone straight to the boss. So he's actually dipped into his pocket, has he? He's dipped in your pocket. Did you dip in your pocket for us today? That's disturbing. Wait. Tell us what?
There was some money left after paying you.
Oh, yeah, there. I'm very cheap. This is the Galan thing, isn't it? You're using the Galan stuff. Is that what it is?
Yeah, yes, yeah.
I'm listening. I think JP's third up in this one. Do you want me to get on with it? Bloody hell, I didn't realise the boss was in the bloody room. I would have been more on the ball. Okay. Brett, big nickel, low market cap, big things to come for nickel. So that's what you're going to address us about, isn't it? Come over here, sir. Nickel, copper, cobalt, exploration, development, Corazon. Brett Smith, would you please make him welcome, ladies and gentlemen?
Do I have to turn something on? Oh, there it is. If you want a copy of the presentation, it's on our website. It's been released on the ASX platform and there's hard copies by our stall, so please come by. Corazon, ASX listed junior exploration company with projects in Canada and Australia. The point of difference with Corazon is that we've got quite large nickel sulfide resources and we've got a market cap of less than $10 million. So we're the only one on the ASX like this. We've taken a little while to pull this project together. Middle of last year, we ticked over owning 100% of the historical mining centre and all the exploration ground. We've got 3 projects. I'm only talking about Lynn Lake, our flagship project today, but if you want to know more about the other 2 projects, they're very good exploration projects in Western Australia and New South Wales. Please come by the booth. You can see by that, I'll go back, you can see by that metals mix there that we're heavily into battery metals or forward-facing metals, new world metals, whatever you want to call them, but nickel is the main thing. If you have a look at nickel, everyone's talking about it, lithium-ion batteries, the demand for electric vehicles going forward, forecast demands, etc., etc. It's a big thing. But if you look at the history, and still now, the nickel story is all about stainless steel. 70% of demand for nickel goes into the stainless steel industry, and supply has satisfied that demand for some time. The stainless steel industry has been growing between 6 and 8% for decades, or at least the last decade, and we've had no trouble in supply meeting demand. That's about to change, and the forecasts you see are quite unbelievable. And if you believe all these promises politicians are saying at the moment, there's just not enough metal in the world, not enough lithium, not enough copper, not enough nickel, not enough cobalt. So that's where the nickel price is at the moment. And I know it's reached its 7-year high just this week, but if you look at the average price per year, it's a bit longer than that. It's more than 10 years since it's been up around these levels. This is a great slide. This is the value of nickel in electric passenger vehicles sold worldwide. In the last 12 months, we've seen 69% growth in the value of nickel going into passenger vehicles, EVs. And just put this slide up, this is a forecast out until 2030. And you can see the passenger vehicles, I hope I don't get Chrissy in the eye here, the passenger vehicles are the blue here. We're sitting down at the moment around there. That's where we're sitting. So there's a long way to go, and the amount of growth we're going to see here, if this is true, is absolutely incredible. And that's how we look at Lynn Lake now. Lynn Lake, located in North America, there's 2 growth areas for rechargeable batteries. One is North America, the other is Europe. It's traditionally a Chinese domain, but these things are becoming strategically important, and you see all of Europe and the US and Canada looking to produce their own batteries. We have access to all North America by rail from Lynn Lake. We have access to Europe by rail onto Hudson Bay, and then Europe's just a turn to the right. Right, Lynn Lake. Lynn Lake is a prolific historical producer of nickel. It was discovered in the 40s, mined for 24 years before it shut down in 1976. In its heyday, there were about 3,500 people here. Today, I think Lynn Lake's population is around 500. Imagine a mine of this vintage, not very automated. I think they had 1 diesel locomotive underground that trucked the ore from the Farley shaft to the A shaft underground up to the processing plant. Apart from that, they relied on gravity and manpower. So the story is completely different in modern day. But when we first got our foot in the door at Lynn Lake in 2011, we had visions of owning the whole mining centre. We did that in 2015. With that ownership came 75 years of exploration data, 25 years of mining information, all in paper format. And we've been digitally capturing that since then. Our database sits at about just under 10,000 drill holes. We've got resources on 6 deposits in the mining centre. There's 20 deposits to find there. And this work is still going. Even this month, we scanned 1,000 underground plans and sections so we can get more detail into the underground infrastructure so we can do more detailed mining studies. Lynn Lake, there's a lot to love about it. Incredible infrastructure still there, but the most significant thing you see on this slide is the hydropower. There's 2 hydropower schemes there that were built back in the 50s for the mine. They're still operational. Hydropower, a very cheap power source for a new mine, but also it allows us to entertain environmentally compliant, sustainable mining operations. Large JORC resources, I'd say this is a conservative statement. These are high quality resources. We've just this week added a measured component to that, so 20% of the resources measured, 80% is indicated or better. This thing's been drilled out, partially developed, mining commenced, so we don't have to spend millions of dollars on resource definition drilling. That's been done. And this is one of the most significant things. It's an old mining centre. We inherited no environmental liability from this mine. The government, the Manitoba government's taken all this on, which starting with a clean slate. So it's a good story for a startup project. Corazon's always had a dual focus at Lynn Lake. One is to try to bring along the redevelopment of the mining operation. The other one's been exploration. If we have to look at our DNA, we're explorers. We believe that Lynn Lake is one of the best brownfields nickel sulfide projects in North America, and that's been stated. We can justify this strategy because in the last 10 years or so since we've been there, the nickel price has been down to around $4 or $5 a pound. It's very hard to put capital towards a redevelopment of a mine with the nickel price so low. But exploration and resource development is a two-pronged strategy. This is a zoom into the mining area. You can see the satellite L deposit in the southern part, and then you get the main mining centre with multiple deposits called the A plug. We've commissioned new mining studies, and our thoughts here are to completely change how things are being done in Lynn Lake. When this thing shut down, they were selectively mining high grade. The mining operation was going 24 hours. The mill was on half pace and 50% capacity, and they were really struggling. This thing is a large tonnage bulk mining scenario. And it's absolutely incredible how things come together when you start lowering your cutoff grade geologically, and the resource areas just move towards faults and lithological boundaries. So that's where we're at. We're starting afresh on this, and it's happening as we speak. We haven't given up exploration in the mining centre, and earlier last year we did some drilling around the A shaft in the mining centre, some exceptional high grade mineralization from surface. The strategy before this was we believed if we had 2 to 4 years of mine life from open cut would be a good startup operation for what's going to be an underground mine. And so that was quite successful. We've probably got about 2 million tonnes in an open pit at the L deposit. So we're well on the way, and we know we'll pick up more drill defined mineralization when we look at the databases and things like that. High grade potential in the mining centre still exists. It's amazing. This thing's been known about for 75 years. And still every company that's been in here and drilled a hole since mine closure in 76 have all discovered new deposits. So 2011, Corazon was drilling the L deeps. Into 2012, our share price was going backwards on the falling nickel price during this thing. It's open in all directions. It's a difficult thing to drill from surface, and we believe it'll be a major exploration front for a new underground mining operation. Standing back, looking at the exploration, this is an aeromagnetic image, and the polygons you see there are mafic, ultramafic intrusions that have barreled up through the country rock and carried the nickel sulfides with them. All these things have been drilled in the 1950s and 40s. They dragged drill rigs around the bush here, and all these intrusions have plus 1% nickel in them. But very early on, they identified high-grade massive sulfide nickel in the A plug, and that really drew the focus for the next 25 or so years. That's the kind of country we're looking at, and that's the 1950s drilling. That's what they had to put up with. That's that time of year, it's pretty wet. full of black flies, bugs and bears, black bears. So it's not a nice place to be in summer. In winter, we find it a lot better because you can go anywhere, but you can't see any of the rocks. You can drag big, heavy equipment there. That's a heated drill shack, so it's not a problem. If it all gets tough, we just pull in a helicopter and set up on some of the more difficult holes using a helicopter. When we first went into Lynn Lake in 2011, we had visions of identifying another L plug, exploring for L plugs. L plug is that isolated intrusion, high-grade massive sulfide breccia, beautiful deposit. It's discovery hole, 183 meters, 4.7% nickel, 1.7% copper. Absolutely beautiful. But Lynn Lake's a very unforgiving place logistically for exploration, but also geophysically. The go-to tool for nickel exploration is electromagnetics. It just doesn't work at Lynn Lake very well. It can, but it may not. There's so much surface conductance from the lake deposits, mineralized sediments, sulfidic sediments, VMS deposits in the country rock everywhere. Some of them have copper and zinc, others are barren. That there's so many red herrings produced, but also you don't get the penetration. You don't get any depth penetration because all the energy's sucked out of the methods at surface. So we've been trialing everything. Last year we tried a new innovative system. It seems to have worked. It's drawn our attention down to the southern part of the Fraser Lake complex. Fraser Lake is a sister plug to the A plug, the mining centre, but it's twice the size. It's got all the physical and chemical characteristics that say it should host massive sulfide deposits. The old timers believed that the next big deposits in Lynn Lake would be found at Fraser Lake, but they never quite got there. There's a zoom into that area. It's an aeromagnetic image, and you can see the outline of the interpreted outline of the Gabbro intrusion with the white line, and those yellow circles are what we call conductive trends generated from some of our geophysical methods. There's actually a lot more. That was very early image. There's a lot more than that. You can see where the old timers drilled. Those black dots up there. Corazon's drilling has been in this red polygon here, and that defines IP chargeability anomaly. IP chargeability anomaly will define disseminated sulfides. And where we drill that thing, we've hit incredible disseminated sulfides. Some of the holes 600 meters deep, sulfides from top to bottom, weakly disseminated right down to small zones of massive sulfide. But we haven't been able to jag the big accumulation of massive sulfide. It's got to be there somewhere. These rocks are beautiful. And you can see rocks like that. Those sulfide balls are 6 to 8% nickel. Absolutely incredible. So we know that it's an ore forming system. We just haven't been able to target yet this thing. This is the same area, but it's an air photo. And you can see the Gabbro intrusion in green over the top. This year, we've drilled a few holes in this western area. There's a lot more Gabbro here, even than this interpretation. And 18 months ago, this was all country rock. This wasn't Gabbro at all. So the interpretation is growing and changing as we're doing this work. The old saying is, with nickel exploration, drill your aerial geophysical anomalies, then do downhole EM to locate your conductor. And that's what we've done. We've done downhole EM on these drill holes, and we've got within 35 meters of some really nice conductors. So we've got the drill rig on site at the moment, and this is our initial target area. We're putting a hole into 23B initially. So that's well on its way. That's a big plate. That's 287 meters by 84 meters. And you can see it in cross section. That's a cross section on that drill hole number 23. One of the plates there is about 400 meters long. And this is typical in size and signature to some of the deposits in the Lynn Lake mining center. This is the kind of thing we're looking at. We don't particularly like the location. We'd like to be more central in the intrusion, but these things do happen, and you can get sulfide accumulations on the margins of these Gabbro intrusions. And so this is what we're looking for in this area. How we've generated this, we've taken those methods and we've looked right through the Fraser Lake complex, and we've got several other targets we're drilling. We've got about a 2,000 meter drill program. As I say, the first hole into 23B, we have a look at that, and then we start working down our highest ranked target and through the list. So it's exciting times for us, and we'll announce results as they become available. If you want an example of other people doing a similar thing, this is Poseidon's Golden Swan, different kind of nickel deposit, but same kind of exploration methodology. So they identified with downhole EM. The conductor plate there was 170 meters down dip. They've now drilled that down to about 300 meters. So it's a good exploration story. Right, in summary, Corazon, I think we've been fairly determined with this project over a decade. We pulled it together. We're the first company to put this project together since 1976. We're big believers in nickel, and this, I think, is coming to the front now that nickel is going to be a critical metal going forward. We've got market support. We've got, I guess the rest of the market's probably looking at the turn in the supply-demand curve. That's coming really quickly. At the moment, supply is maintaining pace with demand, but it's not going to last long. We're drilling. It's the most important thing. Exploration company, we're drilling holes. The mining studies are progressing well. We've got 2 other good projects. New pickup in Coolgardie. This is great. Discovered in 1969, never developed, a nickel sulfide project. For the last 20 years held by gold companies. Low-powered geophysics found that we can do a lot more with this ground. And in New South Wales, early stage exploration play, large copper gold system, 20-kilometre long geochem anomaly with lots of high-grade rock chips over it. So we've got 3 cracking projects, nickel focus. Canada's a big one. As I said, as Chrissy said, big resources, low market cap. So thank you.
Thank you, Brett. I don't have many of the presenters come up to me and beg for extra time to talk about their project, but this fellow did come up on bended knee and said, I'm going 1620, I'm going 1620. I said, you must have something big to share with us. So we'll keep an eye on you now, Brett. Thank you very much for presenting today. All right, charging ahead in the discovery of lithium and battery metals. Our next presenter is a recently listed exploration company with 3 key projects. To explain, would you please welcome their MD of the aptly named Charger Metals, Mr. David Crook.
Thanks very much, Chrissy. What a great venue. It's really nice to come to a place like this, isn't it? And after such a lull over the last couple of years for these kinds of conferences, it's really good to be back, and it's good to see a good turnout.
I think the interesting thing is so many of you come down from Perth, and a lot of you got holiday homes down here as well. So you've made a bit of a weekend. We would have actually liked to have been invited to share some of your holiday homes. That would have been nice, but no. Do you have a holiday home down here?
Me, no.
No, there you go. Well, maybe with this new company you've started up, you'll be here in your holiday home next year.
I think so, yes.
All right, would you make David very welcome, everyone? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so Charger listed in July this year. We were very fortunate that the timing was right, and things like the Julimar discovery certainly acted as a catalyst for the company. I joined Lithium Australia at the start of last year, and the impetus for that was to rationalise their exploration portfolio, and that culminated in a group of us acquiring what was left of the Lithium Australia tenement portfolio. The point of that is that these tenements were put together quite a long time ago. In fact, Adrian Griffin has had a relationship in the Western Yilgarn for decades, and he's quite happy to tell you about it if you ever take a bottle of wine to him. Lake Johnson is an area where the company discovered spodumene, so it is a fertile spodumene district, and of course we're not too far away from deposits like Earl Grey there. But Bino is also one that's coming along, and we announced this morning the start of our soil geochemistry programs there, and that was quite well received by the market on an otherwise dire day. So all of our projects are grassroots. They were carefully selected, and it's just a process that we have to go through. As explorers, we've all been through it. We have good quality geochemists around the place. We have good geologists, and we just get stuck into it. If you want to know that stuff, there's probably better places than trying to read that. So I'll move right along. I thank Brett for giving you a brief introduction to nickel sulfide exploration. Like Brett, we have gabbros down in this area here, as do the Julimar area. These things are called mafic complexes, and associated with mafic complexes, if you're lucky, you get nickel sulfides. Our project had been explored for aluminium, so we had the benefit of some bottom of the hole geochemistry. It showed platinum, it showed gold, it showed other bits and pieces. So the next natural step, much to the dismay of the geochemists, is that you fly some aeromag. And so we flew SkyTeam a couple of months ago. And as a geologist, if I was to put my finger on a map and say, this is the best place for a target, it actually happens to be right there. That mafic intrusion that I was showing before winds its way around there. And this is sitting right on one of those basal areas that Brett was talking about. That end of it is several hundred meters long. It's a big conductor. It's a parallel system, very high conductance, so all the hallmarks of a massive sulfide system. And pleasingly, our geophysicist was the first person to be buying on the market the day after we announced that, or the day that we announced it. Putting ourselves geographically into context, we're the red stuff down there. Who else have we got? We've got, you tell me, you should know, it's the biggest guys. $3 billion market cap. It's Chalice Mining is pretty much right beside us. We're only 20 k's away there. Caspin, Mandrake, Devex are here. You can speak to them as well. And so the way that we're approaching this is just absolutely first principles, geochemistry, then geophysics, and then we'll get on the ground and start drilling these things. This morning we put out some geochemistry announcements to do with our Bino project in the Northern Territory. We're only 30 k's out of Darwin. People said it's as famous for its crocodiles as it is for its lithium up there. But the Finniss project is right there. That's Core Lithium's Finniss project. They've just announced this week that they're going to start construction. They're $1 billion company. We sit as quite a large excision within their tenement portfolio. We've got 62 square kilometres. The project was initially explored by Haddington, and so we do have quite an extensive, albeit wide-spaced geochemistry environment to start exploring from. So that work was done in 2007 to 2012, so it's modern, it's good quality. They didn't see what they wanted, but they did see lots of LCT pegmatite vectors, and they're a good spot for us to start exploring from. So this morning we announced that we had about 20% of our samples back. The reason that we announced them is it's going to be a big gap until the rest of it comes. So rather than just hang everybody out to dry, we thought of the 3,000 samples, let's announce the first 20%. And straight away, we are getting some really nice lithium trends within the work that we're doing. So let's just zoom in and have a quick look at those. The underlying map is lithium geochemistry from Haddington, so that gives us our roadmap. You can see plenty of white and red areas, which are lithium anomalies. The red dots are pegmatites associated with the lithium that were encountered by Haddington. And then the sort of brighter image is the work that we announced this morning. So already we've got a walk-up drill target there. In fact, we've said that we've got 3 drill targets, those 3 there. There is spodumene known in this excision. The excision is owned by Core Lithium. They've got an option on that. And if they want to acquire that, exercise that option, it's a $10 million price tag. So immediately there's some implicit value in our tenement based on $10 million for that excision right there. The third project is our Lake Johnson project. It's about halfway to Kalgoorlie. As I said, Lithium Australia geologists discovered spodumene down in this area here. There's a large pegmatite field known in this area. There's 50 kilometres between those two. More recently, we announced some geochemistry in this area here, a nice big fat lithium geochemistry, and our guys have been out and mapped that, and there's a big pegmatite, as you'd expect. So our process, you might be starting to understand, soil geochemistry, mapping hand in hand, go out there, field check. It's an iterative process, and once you get enough detail, then you drill it. And the top one is the lithium anomaly. The guys went back out there and did some mapping. As I said, a nice big fat pegmatite right in the middle of it, so the system works. And the bottom one there is what a spodumene pegmatite looks like in the field. So Brett could have had a bit more time. I promised him 8 minutes and I've still got 7 minutes left. So the way that we're going is we're focusing on lithium and other commodities that feed into the green environment or into the green metal industry. Our projects are the coats, which we see as being a Julimar lookalike. It's a mafic intrusion. It's got a conductor beside it. The geochemistry around it has nickel and copper and chrome and gold and the other things that you like to see when you're drilling these kinds of things. The geochemistry that's coming back from Bino at the moment is coming back extremely well. We've got a good roadmap forward for following the earlier work, and between mapping and geochemistry, we'll get into drilling targets there, we hope early next year. And the Lake Johnson project, we've got a very large land holding. We know that there are LCT pegmatites scattered over 50 kilometres. We've got a lot of ground further north where structurally and conceptually there should be more pegmatites, and we've got a field crew out there sampling now. So that same iteration, we push out the chemistry crews, we have our geologists following up, or working in tandem. And as a consequence, we're already generating drill targets. Thank you very much.
Thanks, David. David, are you a geo?
Yes.
You're a geo background, aren't you? Did you get excited about this project? I'm just listening to the way you're.
These are great projects.
Yeah.
These are awesome projects. Simple as that.
Yeah. I was talking to David outside as well, because apparently there was a bit of wheeling and dealing going on with the length of presentations. And Corazon did come up to you and beg for some time off you as well, which you very magnanimously actually handed over. But listening to you too, you're obviously very excited about what you've got in front of you too.
It's a very early story. It doesn't need to be a long story. We all know that the leverage is at the point of an exploration discovery, and that's the point we're at. It's a process of going through, generating targets, drilling them, and the results will speak for themselves, I'm sure.
Good on you, Cookie. Thanks so much. David Crook, everyone. Right. Staying with the world of lithium, David Benson. Are you staying for a drink this afternoon with us? Fabulous. Are you a local boy? That's good. You could have more than one drink then, because you could almost walk home from here, couldn't you then? Maybe. Well, Stewie is, as he's just said, is stumping up for that. High on the heart and the heels. He's giving us more than one drink, which is very big for Stewie. But I think that's on the heel of the profit that he's made from this next fellow that's about to join us on stage, JP de la Varga. Would you come to the stage, please, Sarah? Always a happy guy, but he's got a bit more of a spring in his step on this occasion, have you not, sir? We're going to talk lithium, we're going to talk Galan, and we're going to see if it could actually still have something in it for your portfolio. Would you please make him very welcome?
Well, thanks, and good afternoon. And I feel very happy to be here. And thank you very much, Stu and Jackson, for the beautiful introduction this morning. You know, I wasn't expecting that, so I'm feeling very pleased, and I'm very happy being here. Actually, being so close to green bushes, this brings a different vibe to what Galan is about. And green bushes, by the way, is one of our exploration projects here in Western Australia. But our main focus is where we have our lithium. Where's our lithium? It's mainly in that part of the world. You can see a picture of where it sits. It's in the salt flat of Hombre Muerto in Argentina. We have 3 million tons, basically, of this stuff, and we got probably another 1 million to 1.5 million of our resource upside that we need to demonstrate, but we have more than enough to start with. Well, with that said, and then the usual disclaimer, and Galan. And Galan, it's about high grade and low impurities. It's about competent people that can do work attitude that we've been doing this for the last 4 years. We have a fantastic team in Argentina, in Chile, and I got a very supportive board here in Australia. So 2 legs of this, and the third leg is we got the funds now. Thanks to Canaccord, we did a cap raise of $50 million that we closed a couple of weeks ago. So we have enough funds in our kitty to execute all the studies that we need to do at Hombre Muerto West, which is our flagship project, and Candelas. And beyond that, we got money to go and explore, and hopefully, fingers crossed, have a new discovery in Greenbushes South. There's something more to Galan, and that is that there's a lot of activity happening in Argentina. You can see on the screen. POSCO a while ago bought the northern part of Galaxy for $280 million. There's been another transaction lately, this emerged of Galaxy with Orocobre, making them as big as Pilbara Minerals. And then you have 2 transactions here in last October for Millennial and also for Neolithium. And they're all in the same vicinity in Argentina. And what does it mean? It means that Galan is the last 100% owned company with no JVs, no offtake, no nothing with anyone. And it's the last project in Argentina with high grade and low impurities. There's no one else. We are the very last. So that was a good reason to invest in Galan. So I'll leave you with that. Then we have fortunately run, and our share price has been appreciated, but Canaccord put a price target, long-term price target for the next 12 months of $2.60. We currently sitting around $1.27, but this is on the basis of what we could do. And we have our flagship project, which is Hombre Muerto West, and you see the metrics in there. We have $1 billion NPV, low OPEX of $3,500 a ton for brine. That is in the first quartile of the industry, and that's even cheaper than processing hard rock. And the capex, it's accordingly to what you can do to produce a downstream project process, which is lithium carbonate. So that's around 440 million, including contingency. Now, the key thing on that study, and this is something that I'll allow you to think more about it. We did this study with a price assumption, long-term price assumption for lithium carbonate of $11,500 a ton. The spot price in China today is above $30,000 a ton. So I'm not saying do the valuation on that price, but that can give you a flavor where things could go. And Jackson asking, well, what does it mean? Well, if you look at the research report, that's $6 a share for Galan. But I'm not saying that you have to evaluate that. But it means that we have an upside. So the $2.60 is based on one project, and we have two. And if we are lucky and find something in Greenbushes South, which is a joint venture with Lithium Australia, that'll be fantastic for us. So that, in a nutshell, that's where we are, that's where we're staying. And importantly, Galan has a long-term view on things, and we are proving time and time again. With conventional technology, we have produced lithium concentrate. We have produced lithium carbonate of high purity. What we can do, it is achievable. We're not depending on new technology. We're not depending on testing something that hasn't been done. And if we look beyond that, these transactions that I mentioned by Chinese companies, pretty much, they all look into the conventional technology for processing lithium. They're not looking at new technologies of developing and processing. So this is something that I'll leave you with, that to think when the Chinese go the front end on technology and their own ideas, they stick to what it works. So Galan is about that, using something that's proven. And I've been saying since day one, this is a marathon. We're going to get to production. We like to get to start with lithium concentrate production, to then lithium carbonate. We need to walk before we run, but I will deliver. And that is one of our strengths. Yes, take a long-term view in Galan, but it will work. So with that said, we'll give you a bit more about where we are. We're on the Lithium Triangle in Argentina. You can download this, and this is online, so I'll skip through a few things. The main thing is that we are a high-grade, low impurity, and you can see in the chart, we are way ahead on grade. So grade is king, whether you're talking about gold, iron ore, whatever you want to talk, grade is king in mining. So, and this is something that we have. Low grade, so high grade and low levels of impurities. So magnesium is on this axis, so you want to be as close to zero, but grade is on this axis, so you want to be as far right as you can. Hopefully, I'm not going to confuse with this next slide, but you want to be as close to zero as you can be. So, and when you see the cluster of companies and what you see there, that's the Hombre Muerto Basin. And who are our neighbors? Livent, the Orocobre merger with Galaxy, and POSCO. So these are not coincidences. The reason why these companies are is because it can't get any better than that in Argentina. So that is key to where Galan is, and we've proven that we have pretty much the same chemical soup. That is a fantastic starting point for low operating cost. So importantly, this is courtesy of SQM, the carbon footprint. It's important to demonstrate that we can have a solution forward. And when you see what it works today, lithium carbonate production from brine has the lowest carbon footprint today. Why is that? Is because we use the sun to our advantage. Plenty of sun in the desert. We do the evaporation process. And from that, we take this evaporated concentrated brine and put it into a chemical plant to produce lithium carbonate salt. The next slide is about the same, the energy intensity. We don't have to, conventional, this is not about a pit development. This is more like oil and gas. And we need to put the brine into ponds, let it evaporate, and the sun is doing pretty much the work for us. The lithium already comes in solution. So all we need to do is just to concentrate, add some reagents for changing the pH and make things, impurities precipitate, keep the recovery high, and then process the salt into lithium carbonate. A snapshot about who we were yesterday. We have $42.2 million in the bank as reported on the quarterly, but we closed the raise. So you need to add another $20 million less than the costing of the raise. So we have north of $60 million in the bank to execute everything that we said that we'll do. The top 28 shareholder is 48%, top 50 is 63. So in other words, the company is tightly held by not many people, and that means that when there's a high demand of interest in Galan, the share price can go risely very quickly. About the board, the main person that I would like to highlight here is a gem for us, and that's Daniel Jimenez. Is the third man from your left to right. Daniel resides in Santiago in Chile, and he was the senior vice president of SQM. And he did that for 10 years, but all up he worked for SQM 28 years. It's not every day you can find someone with that level of caliber that can be in a board, and especially 2 years ago when we were a small company. He believed in us, he believed in Galan, he believed in our team, and he's been part of this and proudly been part of this. What does Daniel do? You know, I get that question a lot. All the things that we're doing in terms of the engineering, hydrogeology, and all those contexts have been vital for Galan to get to where we are today. And on top of that, you look at the commercial side of things. And yes, we're talking to a lot of companies. Yes, we're busy on that end. And Daniel is the person that actually has helped us to be in a very interesting position. And he's got the experience, he knows the market very well, and advises fantastically. So I could not be happy working with our board and also with Daniel, that is the man that gives the experience in lithium. So where is all of this? So Hombre Muerto West is our flagship here to the left. Then you have Livent that's been producing lithium carbonate for 28 years. This company started the lithium revolution. The Sonic Handycams started with lithium coming from Argentina. It didn't come from Australia. No green bushes, it came from this salt flat. Then we have POSCO that bought the northern part of Galaxy. Then you have Galaxy merged with Oro Cobre, a name to be published to the market. And then we have our second project, which is Candelas. We done a study on this one, and we're going to move into a DFS. And then we have also Candelas that we're moving into scoping study. The big picture of Galan, and this is very important. You could take Hombre Muerto West as stage one that could produce 20 to 25,000 tons of lithium carbonate equivalent a year. And stage two is Candelas that could be 10 to 15,000 tons of lithium carbonate equivalent a year. All up, Galan could produce up to 40,000 tons as a long-term view where the company can go. And this is important because 40,000 tons is not a small production profile for a company, especially when I mentioned that the spot price is around 30,000 tons, operating cost 10% of that. Margins could be really beautiful long-term. So what have we done in terms of the study? We have this the ponds here. This is the study done by Worley, and the study indicated that we'll be one of the lowest operating costs in the industry for the reasons that I mentioned, you know, high grade, low impurities, conventional evaporation, you know, low energy and low carbon footprint. If you want to compare to who we are, who's who in the zoo of Australian companies, then you can see that we compete very well against all the other companies that are ASX listed in Argentina, and also even if you want to compare to DLE. Now, DLE uses high intensity of energy and high water consumption. We don't use high energy intensity because, as I mentioned, the sun does it for us, and water consumption is very small. So we have also an advantage of something that doesn't exist. We're in the Andes, we're in the middle of nowhere. So you cannot get power easily, and you cannot get a lot of water either. So we play what we have to our advantage and we stick to conventional technology. So since then, we look into what else we can do. So 20,000 tons was the study. 25,000 tons is the area that we can use as a first stage. We got more area to the north, but we can increase our production, reduce our OPEX, hence also reduce our CAPEX. And we have an exploration upside potentially of another 1 million tons sitting there in the other tenements that we have at Umbra Muerto West. What have we done? Importantly, we have demonstrated that we can produce high-grade concentrate, and we produce this concentrate, we take the concentrate into high level of lithium carbonate battery grade, and we've done that, box sticks, and we are moving now to prove that at site, and we want to produce that as soon as we can in a pilot plant. So the funding now that we have is to do that. Next, closer to knowing that we've got not much time, but we have the Greenbushes South joint venture. And we're immediately south of the Greenbushes mine. So this is the soil samples that we've taken. And the interesting thing is that we believe there's a high chance, this is our thesis, that the Greenbushes pit or the deposit continues to the south. Maybe at depth, but this is something we need to prove. We're doing the work, we're doing geophysics, we're doing soil sampling, and hopefully next year we'll go and drill it and prove this thesis. And well, this is what exploration is about. So to finalize, this is where we are at, and this is the focus in Argentina. We are running more drilling for reserves now at Umbra Muerto West. We're going to go back and drill also Candelas. The pilot plant, it's about to come up in terms of the permits, and then we're going to start constructing. And the main idea is that by the end of next year, we'll have the studies done, we have the permits for production done, we have the results from the pilot plant, we'll have a study and an MPV of DFS for Umbra Muerto West, and not far away into the future also for Candelas. So watch this space. As always, this is a marathon, not a race. Stay with us for the long term, and hopefully next year I will be able to be here again and tell you fantastic, great news about Greenbushes. So fingers crossed. Thank you.
Thanks, JP. Next year, Stu will be on 3 drinks. We'll be up from 2 up to 3 drinks. Okay, off to the Kimberley now, and the Cummins Range Rare Earths project. RareX is advancing that particular project towards development. Am I on the right line here, sir? I am, that is correct. Okay, they've been heard using words like game-changing following their little diamond drilling process lately. So what have they found? What's making these guys so excited? This fellow is going to have a chat with us about it. Please welcome MD, Mr. Jeremy Robinson. Jeremy, welcome.
Thanks very much for that introduction, Christy. It's good to be here at this inaugural conference, the Southwest Connect. Thanks to Stu and the team for putting it on. Yes, I am prone to embellishing my headlines on the ASX releases, but I make no apologies for that. I'll run through today what we're doing at Cummins Range with our rare earth project. You've heard the last couple of talks are about lithium. Lithium are the power packs. Rare earth are the motors that take the energy from these power packs and put the rubber to the road as you speak. So rare earths are just as critically important as lithium in the renewable economy going forward. So look, corporately, we've got a relatively tight structure, 410 million shares. We're well capitalised with 5.5 million in cash and shares that we're currently spending on our drilling program at Cummins Range. Our board is very well credentialed. Speaking of lithium, you've got John Young there who founded Pilbara Minerals, so he's come on board. He can see what's coming in the rare earth space. We have a view that rare earth is only a year or two behind the euphoric feeling that's around lithium at the moment. So it's a space you've really got to be involved in. Cameron Henry brings a lot of experience in the processing side. As a founder of Primero, has built a lot of lithium plants around the place and has done work on plants like Mount Weld as well. So our board is well set up to deliver on the promise we're about to tell you about at Cummins Range. We believe strongly in the rare earth thematic, and we're here to deliver on our project and grow our rare earth business over the next few years. So our project, where is it? In the introduction, it was mentioned we're in the Kimberley, and that's definitely where we are. We're just south of Halls Creek. Western Australia is where you want to be to go mining. Yes, it's a little bit more expensive, but you definitely own the project and you can get on and do things within a known framework and jurisdiction. Our resource, this is a resource we put out in the middle of this year, 18 million tonnes. That's on the back of drilling we did all of last year. Importantly, there's a high-grade core to that, 6.5 million tonnes at about 2% TREO. The 2% stuff is the stuff I'm very much focused on finding with the drilling we're doing at the moment. I'm not here to chase 1.15% TREO, I'm here to chase 2% TREO. We also have attendant niobium there, we also have scandium, we also have phosphate, which is ubiquitous in carbonatite deposits as well, and we're trying to assess how we extract all those as part of our scoping study at the moment. Exploration has been going full steam ahead all year. I've had a diamond rig out there since April. We've also had an RC rig at various phases. We've had the success we wanted with the drill bit this year. We were in it to prove that there are high-grade extensions at depth below the weathered profile into the primary, and we're proving that at the moment, and I'll touch on that in a few slides' time. It's a very good time to be talking about rare earths. I'll show you a slide about where rare earth prices are, but interestingly, NdPr prices are $111 a kilo as of today. That's the highest they've been in some 7 to 10 years. So it's a fantastic time to be in rare earths. Everyone from Lynas down to us should benefit from this wave that is upon us. I'll also touch last of all on our little spin out Cosmos exploration towards the end. So look, I mentioned rare earths. What are they used for? They're in rare earth permanent magnets. They are critical for their magnetic properties, and we're talking about neodymium, praseodymium as the light magnetics, dysprosium and terbium are the heavy magnetic ones, and these are used in motors in rare earth permanent magnets, as I mentioned earlier. And the main growth areas for those are EVs, Teslas, and also in wind turbines, specifically offshore wind. It can go both ways. It can take the power and convert it into energy on the road, or it can take the energy from the wind and convert it to power. So very useful stuff. And this is an area that's going to grow, with very strong growth rates over this decade. And to show you the structural balance there, look, we're into declines for most of this decade. There's a price of the NdPr. I think this is before I updated it. At the moment, we're about $111 a kilo, so it's a really good price for NdPr. People we talk to in the business see a new line in the sand of around $70 to $90 a kilo, and you could see real spikes, $120, $150 a kilo, which will set the world on fire in rare earths. It's worth touching on our ESG framework because we put a lot of time into this year. Look, everyone is doing ESG. We've been doing it anyway for years, but we maintain good relationships with our traditional owners on site, the JARU, and we take our environment seriously. So look, this is something you'll hear us reporting on yearly with our sustainability reports, and it's something that investors want to hear us talk about, so we will do that going forward. So this is the resource. This is based on the drilling as from 2020. This is about a 500 by 500 kilometre, no, 500 by 500 metre graphic there. The bulk of the high grade hangs out in the guts of the resource through here. We see structural controls. We thought we could see structural controls in the oxide stuff. It's very highly weathered, so it's hard to see. But we've come in and drilled it with diamond this year, and we've proved it up. So we were very happy with our results. Our visual results at this point, we're still waiting on the assays to come through, and they've been frustratingly slow, but I don't think I'm an orphan there. So they'll be rolling through as of next week. I'd hope to have them for this presentation to talk to, but as of next week, the results will roll through. So I mentioned the 2% resource grade that I'm targeting, and this is why. You want to be to the left-hand side of that graph. We've got our global resource at about the 0.5% cutoff at about a 1% TREO. We're targeting the 2% stuff, and that's what we're trying to get in the underground at the moment. So the geology of the deposit, it's a carbonatite. It's a carbonatite intrusive complex. It's similar in geology to Mount Weld. It has some differences, of course, as all these things do, but it's worth noting that just about all of the world's rare earth is sourced from carbonatite deposits. So these are the things you want to look after, want to look for. You either need the minerals monazite or bastnasite. We have monazite, and it's well-known processing route from there. You can see those structures running northwest, southeast. They're the things we've been targeting with the diamond drilling, and we've had success doing that. So this is just a slide that we put out, a graphic we put out some 3 weeks ago with some of the visuals on it. It's worth talking to this for a bit. So to date, all the resource has been in the oxide portion, the top 100 metres in the brown portion. That's where the resource has been. You'll see some good intercepts there. We see, plus 30, 40 metres at plus 2-3% TREO. We've come in with a diamond rig there. You can see CDX 011. We've drilled that planned hole there, and we've drilled another one behind it as well. And we've hit the, at least visually, we've hit the high-grade mineralisation there over widths of plus 20 metres. So very happy with that. It looks like very coarse monazite. It looks like it'll process well. As I say, we are waiting on the assays, so we can't go too hard at it at this point, but we're very excited by what we're seeing, and it gives us great confidence to come back next year with multiple rigs and really flesh out the size of this deposit. So, so Cummins Range won't be a deposit that's 20 million tonnes for too much longer. Give me enough money and enough rigs next year, and we'll be pushing this thing towards 50 million tonnes. So that's where we want to get it to. This is in a long section again, a couple of graphics to prove a couple of pictures to prove I'm not making this up. This is what it looks like in the oxide, and it looks exactly the same, just looks fresh in the primary part of the resource. So these drill holes along the bottom is what we've been drilling this year. We've also started drilling another panel down, and we're getting exactly what we wanted. So good news for us, and wait for the assays to come through. Study work, appointed the GM projects this year. We're in the process of applying for a mining licence. We've appointed all the best-in-class consultants. Gavin Beer is an expert in rare earth processing. All those groups there are very competent, and we look forward to delivering on a scoping study by the middle of next year. And that scoping study will show some of the positive influences of the primary mineralisation we've been intersecting this year. So last of all, Cosmos Exploration. This is our spin out we've put together this year. Look, a lot of companies are doing this. We think these projects sit separately from our rare earths. These are nickel copper PGE projects. We've got some in the Western Gneiss terrain in a similar setting to the Julimar setting. We also have some copper gold porphyry projects in Orange over in New South Wales. So we've raised the 5 million through a priority offer to our shareholders and a public offer as well. And yeah, RareX will retain about a 30% holding in that. We're not distributing them. We believe in the project. We think we'll add great value to both Cosmos and to RareX to fund our ambitions going forward by holding these shares on our balance sheet. So that'll be a well-funded, well-run company. It's got its own management and should come to market in the next couple of weeks. So in summary, look, we're a rare earth company. I think you've all got that by now. We're focused on Cummins Range. We do cast around for other projects from time to time, but we keep coming back to Cummins Range. We really believe in what we're doing there. Our resource upgrade was out the middle of this year. That was a good result. That was almost a 30-40% increase on the previous resource. We proved our theory right with the high-grade mineralisation, at least visually. We'll wait for the assays, and as I mentioned, they're starting to flow through next week. Rare earth prices, I definitely haven't seen prices like this since I've been knocking around in rare earths, which admittedly isn't very long, but even those that have been here longer than me are really pleased with the prices we've got at the moment. And long may they last, because I can't see any supply coming on in short term. And last of all, pay attention to our float, Cosmos Exploration. CX1's the code. That will have its own nickel copper focus and will live its own life. And last of all, I think it's worth mentioning, we still have a modest market cap of 40 million. Compare that to the Hastings and Arafura's of the world that we're hoping to run down over the next couple of years, which plus 300. So yeah, we think there's lots of upside left in our stock. And yeah, thanks for listening. And I'll be by the booth for the rest of the afternoon before the beers are served. So thank you.
Good on you, Jeremy. Thanks, sir. Jeremy Robinson. Oh, you woke up. I was going to throw this to you just then. Have you all got your balls? Yes? You all got a ball? No, you haven't got a ball yet, Linda. You need to go and get a ball. Okay, now where are you people going? Not that I want to call you out up the back there. Lock the door at the back right now. It's okay. When we draw the last prize, they'll be very, very sad. All right. We have got, three more to go, I think we have. And we're doing a bit of a change of pace. Change of pace. Ian Olson, would you like to come up and join us, sir? Now, Ian is joining us at Southwest Connect. He's the MD of a tech company. So we're moving from mining, we're moving into tech. But I have a feeling that what you're going to talk about may have some, may offer some help to some of our mining guys. Are you all right there? Have you lost the button? You good?
Which is forward?
You're a tech guy, mate.
I don't have
This,
my
this should be your stuff. No, look at me. I'm the
Oh,
speaking
the big green
person.
one. The big
Yeah?
green one. The big green one's forward. isn't it?
Big green one. That's it,
There you
guys.
go.
Forward. That
All
is
right,
crazy.
very good.
Anything else I can help
No,
with
that's
my
good,
limited
Chrissy.
tech knowledge?
Hey?
With my limited tech knowledge,
No,
that's about as
well,
far as I'm going.
You and I are pretty close then.
No,
so
don't admit that.
lots of smart people in our business.
All right, Pointerra.
Thanks, Chrissy.
So, oh, look, you introduced yourself. So basically, we're going to the cloud and we're looking at 3D modeling and we're looking at things that can be of
Digital
assistance.
twins.
No, good
Digital
on you.
twins,
Would
Chrissy.
you please put your hands together for
Thanks,
Pointerra?
guys and ladies. And feel like I'm in Kalgoorlie at Diggers in terms of sitting and listening to all these amazing resources stories. And the irony is 3D data is much like ore in that there's tons of it. Grade is king. And you've got to do something with it to turn it into something. You have to process it. And so if there's a takeaway today, Pointerra is about turning data into insight and information. And that's it. Thanks. Hey, there we go. So 3D data, we describe it as a global workflow problem, and that is it's tough to generate, but it's orders of magnitude tougher and more expensive and more time consuming and error prone to turn it into information and answers. I did a quick sort of audit of the 35 odd companies that are presenting over the couple of days here, and almost every one of those businesses, one or two, either in its own right or through its consultants, be they engineers or mapping or survey companies or geospatial organisations, will be generating and using 3D data to help those companies design, build, maintain, construct, own, govern, ensure the thing that they're doing. So 3D data is generated around the world every day. It's almost invisible to the man and woman in the street because it's not obvious, but from satellites through planes, through helicopters, drones, vehicles, tripods, backpacks, handhelds, even the iPhone in your pocket, people are generating 3D data by the petabyte on a daily basis, and even the autonomous vehicle fleets of the world. And that's where the problem starts, because you're generating data to try and understand the physical world. And it's the workflow. Our business was founded with the assistance of some really clever guys that came out of Rio Tinto back in 2013, who solved some really complex maths, which is the subject of some of our patent protection and our IP, around turning that data into insight and doing it really quickly. We're a cloud business. We're a subscription business, a sticky revenue model. Our customers give us their data, or their consultants give us their data, and we turn that into information and insight. We do it really quickly, we do it really efficiently, and we do it at a cost profile that introduces value. So, it is a 3D data is a global workflow problem, and if there's a takeaway, what is the problem? It's like drinking from a fountain. There's just too much data generated every day for people to get on top of and try and make sense of. So most of our customers, and indeed most of the companies involved in managing, designing, building the physical world, a lot of their programs are getting held up by the problems concerned with turning that data into information and insight. And that's what we do. So we're a workflow solution. Yeah, it's cloud deployed. And yes, we've got some cool AI-driven analytics, but what we do is take workflow that could be measured in hours and days and weeks and months and turn that down into seconds and minutes and hours. So a customer who was generating 3D data for, say, the state of Western Australia, perhaps Western Power or Horizon Power, it might take them months to see the answer. That plane might only take a day or two to fly the network. That data into our platform, the answer and the insight out hours later. But more importantly, through as a cloud business available through a web browser interface, that information, that insight's available on demand. So we can run programmatic algorithms against data, or we can allow people and other applications to query people's 3D data. And think about 3D data as a digital twin. It's a bit of a buzzword that's gaining acceptance these days, but people are building digital twins so they can manage their physical world in 3D. And we take the pain out of doing that. We simplify the complex. It's the 3D data, the files are massive. The maths means you need tons of desktop software and tens and hundreds of people to try and make sense of it in a timely manner. A business like ours comes along, we simplify that, you put the data in, we get you the answer out. So we've come up with a descriptor for our business, which is simply faster. And we got a lot of our business these days is in America, and those balls there demonstrate from left to right kind of the workflow, which I won't go into because we don't have a lot in this speed date format of 15 minutes. But soup to nuts in America is what happens at Thanksgiving. You start with soup and you finish with nuts, and everything in between is that massive banquet that they celebrate each year. And so being a soup to nuts solution means that you can take the data that people are generating and you can get them the answer, and you can do it really quickly and efficiently. And Chrissy, you're saving that one, are you? Soup to nuts. Yeah, it doesn't resonate in Australia, but it means a lot for us commercially in America, and indeed to the investment community in that part of the world. So we listed in 2016 via an RTO that I wouldn't like to repeat again. We started signing up customers in 2018. And then when COVID hit last year, we found ourselves one of those businesses that really benefited from an environment where much of the world was working from home and trying to manage the physical world. So the ability to manage your physical world from a browser on any device appealed to a lot of our existing customers and our prospects across those sectors. So on the left of the screen, you've got the people that generate the data, the surveying and mapping businesses, the AEC sector who design and construct and build the physical world. And then those other four buckets are our asset owner sectors, if you will. So utilities is power and water, transport, road and rail, mining, oil and gas, and obviously defence and intelligence. So each of those buckets has a total addressable market for us of at least 50 million US in revenue. And we're running at about 10 mil US recurring revenue from June of this year. We'll release an update on Friday. And we're trying to get to 50 as our first target, and then to 100 past that. In a business like ours, where the data is stored in the cloud, all the process is done by really intelligent code that's repeatable and hands-off. We at 50 mil revenue, we look like a really profitable, high margin business, and at 100 mil, again measured in US dollars, an extremely profitable business. So we're capital light. We're not in the capture space. While some of our founders came out of the Nearmap story, we differ very much from their business in that they generate really super high quality aerial imagery for what's a fantastic business. We stay out of that space. The capture space is high capex. It's highly competitive, low margin, and subject to lots of technology change. The big value creation opportunity in 3D data is shrinking the workflow, and that's what we do across those sectors. More recently, we've refined the way we talk about our platform. That Pointerra core product at the bottom, which is pretty much our base offering, is relevant to all those sectors. And then as you move up the pyramid here into more bespoke and nuanced answers that people are seeking from their digital twin, we're developing out different types of products for each of those different markets. And ironically, the skinny point of that pyramid is where all the value is. But we start our customers on a journey. It's a land and expand model. Some of our customers start with as little as $1,000 a month commitment to our platform to host data and to deliver on those lower level outcomes. But what we find with our customers, and some have been with us almost since the get-go, that they spend more and more over time. So a customer that started a couple of years ago spending $1,000 a month is now spending in excess of 50 to 70,000 US a month, by way of example. There's a deeper dive there. You can check this out on our platform, and where we sort of go in a little bit more into the detail behind each of the features of that product stack, and then again into those 6 verticals we looked at a few slides back, where we again refine a little bit more about what we're doing for each of those particular sectors. And so for the mining, oil and gas guys here, they might see some examples of the solutions that we provide that resonate with them. Interestingly, ESG, environmental, social, and governance is something that's really jumped out. It's an outcome that we deliver for our customers by allowing them to manage what they care about remotely without having to get on planes and in cars to travel around and burn up carbon fuels. A couple of real world examples, and I won't go into the detail, but again, the theme is the same: simplifying the complex, turning data into information and insight. We've got utility customers where we can tell them with high precision about the condition of a particular pole and the vegetation around it and the things that they're concerned about. And we can do that by street, by suburb, by state and by country. So, we're talking about hundreds of terabytes and petabytes of data that you can that we manage on behalf of these customers, and we allow them to get really intimate with very small parts of their network, or ask questions of their entire network at a business risk level. For the mapping and surveying sector, where they spend tons and tons of time and money turning data into information for their customers, it's a simple efficiency and profitability outcome. We help those guys get the data or get the answer into the hands of their customers faster. We shrink their workflow, we save them time and money, and we make their businesses more profitable. In mining, our focus in the last year or two in the mining sector has really been about operations and compliance. And with some of the tier one customers where compliance is a big issue, they're scanning their facilities, their haul roads, their tailings dams, their pits, their process infrastructure on a very regular basis, as much as intraday. And their challenge is getting the answer. And we've had situations where with one global mining company, a big copper mine in the middle of US, where they were flying the drone on a daily basis, but it was taking them a week to get the answer. The guys running the business needed to know what had changed on that day, not a week later. And we were able to bring that outcome to that customer. So again, shrinking workflow, a consistent theme for us. And in the defense sector, it's not a big focus for Australia, but in North America, the use of remote sensing imagery and 3D data is massive. And the irony for us is that the outcomes that need to be delivered for the defence and intelligence sector are not particularly sophisticated in terms of our platform. It's more the security and the deployment issues around deploying into their private government clouds that's proving more complex for us. But we think that could end up being one of our biggest revenue sectors moving forward. To look at FY21, which we finished obviously, and reported on back at the end of September, it was a real step change for us. It was a breakout year in terms of our market capitalisation, but also some of the financials that we delivered and the revenue growth and the headcount across all parts of our business, from the development team to the product team to the sales and BD team. And I was in the US last March when Scott shut the country down and suggested I get home. We had 4 or 5 people in the US then. We've now got 15. And it'll be great to be able to get back there at some point, because that's certainly very much the growth engine for our business. For us, as a SaaS business, it's always about sales execution. We've got amazing tech. We've turned that tech into what we think is really cool products that solve problems for customers, and those customers stay with us and they spend more money. But in terms of the stuff that you guys care about and how our business is valued, it's about sales execution. What does that mean? It means that you have to continue to grow the spend by existing customers, and you also have to add new customers, and you have to get them to pay you and stay with you. And that's distilled down into 3 key measures: annual recurring revenue, or ACV, cash receipts, and revenue recognised. And we'll update the market with this on Friday with our Q1 results for FY22. I'll skip past this slide because there's too many words, but it basically it summarises what we did really well, we think, in FY21. But I think for a lot of businesses, whether it's technology or mining, doing what you said you'd do is something that's always been important to me and impressed upon me. And this is a slide that you can look at your leisure, but it shows that back in 2017, we had a plan, we stuck to it, and we've delivered. And I think it demonstrates the sort of organisation that we are. We care about what we said we'd do. We want to be held to account, and we like to look back at this from time to time and remind ourselves what we said we were going to do. So our customers tell us that we do all these things really well. But what do you guys care about? You guys care about if I buy a share today at 40 odd cents, what's going to make it $4? Well, a world-class tech platform's part of the story. You need a globally scalable and sticky business model. You need a team that can execute. But importantly, to grow share price and valuation in this space, you need to demonstrate you've got a clear pathway to high margin earnings. That's what delivers unicorn status valuations that people like to talk about with tech companies. It's the knowledge that you continue to compound grow revenue, and that revenue can decouple from costs, and you can have a very, very high margin, high growth business. We're not a small market cap these days, but we still think the entry point today is very modest compared to the upside opportunity, which is significant. And that is us. And you didn't have to ring your bell. Thank you. I hope to meet some of you and answer any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Ian.
Cheers, Chrissy.
Soup to nuts. You learn all sorts of things, don't you? At this soup to nuts, was that correct? Yeah. There you go. We learn all sorts of things, great things for our investment portfolios, foreign languages that we perhaps didn't need to know, but there you are. This next fellow that is going to join us up on stage, where are you, big fella? He's at the back, lurking. Come on down here. He's an innovator. He's a bit of a tech giant. Last 2 decades or so, he's been doing some interesting things in the digital space. Now, do I say Cirralto or Cirralto?
I prefer it that way, but Cirralto's right.
It is? Brilliant. Okay. Well, it's a transaction services business. It supplies industries with a broad range of B2B payment services, digital trading software, and integrated solutions. So future-proofing businesses with digital tools and integrated payment services. Could this be future-proofing your investment portfolio from any little backward steps? We'll find out. Would you please welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Managing Director Adrian Floate.
Thanks for that intro. Am I just pressing the play button to go forwards? Sweet. Okay. Well, as the introduction suggested, my name's Adrian Floate. I'm the Managing Director of Cirralto, and it's really good to be here. I've really enjoyed today so far, and I'll keep this relatively punchy because I'm pretty keen to have a beer myself. So for those of you that don't know us, it's been about a 20-year journey for me, and we're a fairly unusual business. I heard the term unicorn mentioned before, but what makes us unusual is we're really not a software business, we're really not a payments business, and we're really not a lending business. We do all of the above, and that makes us really hard to match up on. It also makes our growth an interesting thing to manage. So 20 years ago, we started off in the supply chain industry, and we specialize in moving transactions and integrating them between trading partners. And that taught us a hell of a lot about how business does business. But it also shows us the inefficiencies of business. And so when we look at an organization today, what we see is a war between the sales part of the business and the financial part of the business. And that war exists because when salespeople sell, they're rewarded for making a sale and rewarded quite handsomely. And when financial people go and collect money, they're rewarded for collecting money. But the conversations are disparate. So salespeople go in and have a chat and go, mate, buy $1 million off me every month and I'll give you this ripping price. And the problem with that is that they miss the end of the sentence, which is, and if you pay me on time. So they create this logical friction. And there's a whole bunch of different financial instruments that have been used to solve that. But what we've done is really focused on how can we use the software as an asset to shape the sale and understand the sale so that before you normally fund and pay, which is the invoicing event, we already know all the data. We actually change the shape of the way the transaction moves. And once we understand that, then obviously an invoice is issued and a payment is made. But when we actually study the fact that we can see the buyer's ledger and the seller's ledger, we got a whole different profile of the way in which we might lend money, which also means we can do different things in the way that we execute a business model into market. So this isn't a new thing for us. We've been working in the automotive industry in arguably what is traditional buy now, pay later for 20 years, and at substantial scale for customers. So we're currently managing transaction flows well in excess of $4 or $5 billion a year. So we've got exceptionally good insight into how businesses do business. And lots of things have come out of COVID. Whilst we've digitized, which has been great for us, we've also driven returns. And returns cost businesses substantial amounts of money. So we focus on how we can press pause on that return cycle and help companies actually not sell things that they can't actually supply. And equally, we don't want to fund transactions that the customer's never going to get. So understanding that workflow has been really interesting for us. We've really had a very transformative period of time. So just to put that in context, our revenues for the last quarter and in the past 12 months have grown about 303%. And we pretty much clean skinned our organization in about 2017 and started with a blank sheet of paper, which is pretty exciting for us. But probably moreover, when I look at that quarterly result, the really pleasing thing of that is when we sell, say, a buy now, pay later service with a payment rail, we literally missed the whole last month of the quarter. Because if you sold something from the 1st of September or the 31st of August through to the end, we're not going to pick up that revenue until the start of this month. So this is the first time we started moving these things at scale. And we made some announcements recently where we've launched a bunch of different new products. And to say we've been hit with scaling really fast would be an understatement. So in a single day, I think we had to board 150 customers. And if I go back a year ago, people are going, how many customers you got? So we've had to deal with sort of 20% growth in a day and then some. And when you're doing that in a climate where you're also digesting acquisitions and you're planning for scale, we've got this really interesting balance that's sort of going on for us right now. So if you look at, if we didn't sell anything more, we'll deliver more than 100% growth. I think 117 or something on last year's numbers. But that's pretty unlikely. We're not going to stand still. We're not sitting on our hands. We're not sort of having a little tea party. And we've already announced a significant transaction since then. And we've got a whole bunch of them in the pipe. So really interesting things for us is stress testing now what is global buy now, pay later. So we're doing cross-border transactions, looking at export and multi-currency using a buy now, pay later framework where we've kind of reimagined it and gone, well, the B2C thing doesn't really apply to business because businesses do lots of transactions with a customer in a period of time. Businesses pay on statements. Retail businesses want extended credit and suppliers want cash faster. So you've got what we call the funding the gap challenge. So the interesting thing for us is, whilst our market cap's pretty sexy, the market's starting to sort of wake up. And for me, I spend a lot of my day talking to overseas bankers where they're looking at lending density models, which is super boring, I've got to tell you. But basically it's a spreadsheet that says, how much money could I leverage out of this guy? We're really focused on establishing our debt warehouse infrastructure. But for us, it's not become how much money can we lend? It's how much money can we get to keep lending? Because our payment flows are at a point now where, as I say, if we board 100 customers in a day, we're adding $500,000 in new payment flow. And that sort of consistency, I think in the last 2 days, we've added somewhere around about 90 customers. And if they're taking a $5,000 payment limit from us or a $20,000 payment limit for us, it's significant cash that we're moving and managing. So putting those building blocks in place for us and controlling growth being really important. Am I good for time? We set ourselves some goals to sort of achieve a 40% growth in the last quarter. We went through that. We're probably undercooked it fairly significantly, but we're starting to sort of take the machine out for a bit of a walk at the moment, which is quite good fun. So looking at us over the last 7 quarters, we've had an average of 36% growth. We've really got 3 things that trouble us. Managing scale. So what scale is how many transactions we can do in a second. So if I look back a few years ago, we were worried about maybe being able to do 1 or 2 a second. Now we're setting benchmarks more like 500 a second because peak loads we can't predict and the business doesn't sleep. So an agri-business has got different transactional needs to say a fashion business, but at the end of the day, everyone makes a sale, everyone needs to issue an invoice, and ultimately someone gets paid. So that's a real focus for us. And we've obviously continued to invest in revving up the machine and engineering effort. Come on, little button, you can do it. Oh, am I over-clicking? Fair enough. We've had a really good run with the global card schemes, and MasterCard have been fantastic at recognizing early that it's pretty hard to match up on us. And what I mean by that is if you look at a business like Square, which I have enormous admiration for, their software kind of caps out at a business with 500 grand turnover, but they'll sell it to you anywhere in the world. We're really focused on businesses that go above that. So we've got a better functional capability, a richer capability than what they've got. But from a business model perspective at that retail end of the market, they're bundling like we do. But we're going a bit past that now and not just bundling the payment and the software, but then the procurement as well. So when we start to look at that, we start to look at every one of those, say, $1 million turnover businesses as a $1.5 million opportunity. $1 million at the front end to their customers and $500,000 at the back end to their suppliers. So that in and of itself was a big part of why we focused on integrating with the MasterCard Track business payment rails, because it in and of itself was built for the financial services industry to be able to leverage what I'd call big to small integration. So for us, it gives us a bit of a fast track into enterprise scale. There we go. Other big thing for us in this quarter has been creating our debt warehouse structure and creating it in such a way that it's bankable at a global scale. Because as I said before, we're not really so much interested in what we can lend in the near term and what maybe $100 million in flows look like, but what does 500 million look like, or what does $1 billion in flows look like? And those things are really easy to execute if you walk into a number of companies and just say, hey, you know what? If you've got 45 days of AR or accounts receivable as your average position, and you're holding 20 million there, would you like to turn that into cash on T+1 and we'll do your credit? And you do that a few times and all of a sudden you got a pretty big book. And you realize that that's a pretty innovative model, because you find that a traditional competitor can't do that because they're waiting for the transaction to get formed. So New Capital's been an exceptionally good advisor to us. Whole bunch of bankers out of London. Say that quickly and half drunk. It's quite entertaining. But they've been really fantastic at highlighting to the banking industry what our competitive advantages are, but also assisting us in developing our credit metrics so we know when to extend limits, when to do that automatically, because already we're seeing situations where we might have a $5,000 exposure to a customer, but in fact, we really should be approving them for a $7,000 exposure. And you know what? They actually need that now. So we call that point of activity debt, where we want to make the debt offer at the point when the business needs it. So if any of you is familiar with applying for a loan with a bank, that's maybe not the thing you want to do. I just need $2,000. I need it today. It's not going to happen. In a business trading cycle, that's what we're trying to deliver to market, but at a significant scale. So New Cap, very important to us, and they've been great. Hey, oh, double down. So as I said before, as we just reported yesterday, we've got, call it 21 million bucks in cash assets between net funds out. So for those who didn't understand, if you read our quarterly, we'll call it, we've got 19 physically in the cash at bank and about net accounts receivable from customers at about 2 million and 50 or something like that. We're putting as much of our up to $10 million more of our working cap that we currently have available into more debt. And we're trying to hold back as much or utilize that money for as long as we can, really because it reduces our total cost of funds and makes us more money in the near term. And it allows us to prove things to banks that maybe initially see us as a higher risk because we haven't got, and anyone that's dealt with a bank, we haven't got 3 years of saying this is a 3-year established business model. So we're just doing it ourselves at the moment to improve our own cost of funds position. And then finally, through the quarter, we've also obviously acquired 2 businesses and got the dinner bell. We see the establishment or the acquisition of Green Shoots as being a bit of a landmark for us. E-commerce business at the right time, so it wasn't fully cooked, so we could synthesize it into our business and really assist the retail end of the market with their selling. But the other thing it's done for us is give us a nice hop into Asia. So we've established part of our debt infrastructure in Singapore. We've also established our working infrastructure out of Singapore as well, both from a tax perspective and access to capital. And we see the Asian market as being a cracking sort of opportunity as we move into the new year. And I would expect some interesting announcements around how our global payment flows will shape in the not too distant future. And if I've got 1 minute left, press the button one more or 11 more times. Hey, we've obviously also, while all this has been going on, doing a fair bit of business integration. We've scaled the company out now to roughly, I don't call it 85, 90 staff, not 100% certain. For reasons that there's a few more faces than I'm used to. But that's been a pretty significant effort for us as an organization and to digest that successfully. And in my last 30 seconds, I will not ask for any questions, but I will say, I think at the minute, we are a homegrown business. We did start in Perth. Most of our resources now are sort of split between here and Sydney, but we do present a genuine global opportunity. And as I say, fairly unique from the blend of organisations that are out there. So thanks for your time.
Well done, Adrian. Thanks. Adrian and our hearing solution, two fabulous solutions that have come out of our little state. Pretty impressive, isn't it? Now we have one last presentation before we go out and enjoy a beer or two on Stewie's tab. If you want to settle back in and join us, it's actually coming to us. Is that your time up? Do you have to go home now? I understand. It's okay. I did say turn your phone off. What was it for? Go on. What was it? What was the alarm for? We all want to know now. What is it for? I love it. That's to get the phone off the 15-year-old so she studied. You know, one of the things I was doing up there today, just quickly, was I was actually contacting Westnet to turn off the internet in my home before my 15-year-old got home so he would study and not go on his Xbox. So I snap on that one with you, Justin. Understand that completely. That's good. Justin, you moved here, didn't you, did you move here, relocate here for the lifestyle, didn't you? Is that your backstory? You were mining and you're getting a little plane from here, fly in, fly out. Yeah. Busselton to the Pilbara. Yeah. So some of you had really interesting stories as to how you're living here. And those of us that travel down can probably learn a lot from guys like Justin as to why they're so blurry happy. And the worst thing in his day is that alarm going off to turn off the phone for his 15-year-old. All right. Last talk for today. We are going back to mining. We're actually going over to Canada, to Ontario. AuTECO Resources has demonstrated the value-enhancing attraction of brownfields gold exploration at the historic Pickle Crow project in Canada. Would you please welcome Darren Cooke? We are hoping via satellite, our Chief Operating Officer, Darren.
All right, thank you very much for having me present at this conference today. Unfortunately, I would love to be there in person, but I've just completed 6 weeks on the ground over in Canada and I'm currently stuck in hotel prison. But one of the ironic things is there's a nice mural of the Busselton Jetty in the background. So clearly I am there in spirit. But today, what I'll go through is the AuTECO story. And look, we've made some very good progress on advancing the project within the last 12 months. And what I hope you'll get a feel for today is that we actually have a huge amount more potential left in this company. So look, in summary, why AuTECO? These are the things that really stand out to me as to why this company will succeed and why at this point in time it's quite undervalued. The first thing is we have a great asset. This asset at Pickle Crow in Canada has a long history of high-grade gold production. It has a current inferred resource of 1.7 million ounces at a stunning grade of 8.1 grams per tonne. And historically, it's produced 1.5 million ounces at 16 grams already. So, the asset has a long history of producing high-grade gold. We're also finding the ounces at $15.25 per ounce. So it's very cost effective. You cannot buy ounces that cheaply, and our resources open in all directions. We've done a lot of work on the exploration side of things, and that is starting to bear fruit. We've made 2 new discoveries in the last 6 months, one called Carey and one called Tyson. And I'll talk to that in a little more detail as we move forward. But we currently have 4 rigs on site. We're getting a 5th rig this week, and we are in the midst of a 50,000 metre drill campaign. Corporate management, got a highly experienced board. We're well capitalised, as you can see. At the end of the June quarter, we had over $20 million in the bank, so we are definitely well funded to continue to grow this resource. And I guess one of the other things that's quite interesting is we have a very strong institutional presence on our register. And to kick it all off, we have an absolutely fantastic location. Canada is a true tier 1 jurisdiction in any sense of the word. So when you combine all of those things, really truly believe that AuTECO is a compelling investment opportunity. Just a corporate overview, current share price is just over 8 cents. Our market capitalisation is hovering around the $140 million mark. And as I mentioned before, we have a very good cash position in the bank. At the end of June, we had 21.8 million left to continue our exploration activities. The other key factor from this slide you can see there is we have a very strong institutional following, which is great for a company so young. We have 20% institutional holdings on our register. So yeah, we'll continue to try and build that as the company grows. But it's really great to see that we have the backing of some pretty big players like 1832 on the register. So just in terms of the board and management, I won't spend much time on this. You know the team. Obviously, Ray, Steve, and Mike have been heavily involved in Bellevue and myself from Northern Star days. But this team is very experienced. We have the skills and the DNA to actually move this project forward and take it further and further towards development and to keep making discoveries in the district. So in terms of the team, we're very well positioned to grow this asset and to grow this company. So one of the questions we often get asked is, why Canada? What's an Australian ASX listed junior doing playing in the Canadian space? And there's 3 key things that we really look for there. One is the jurisdiction, and Canada is one of the best jurisdictions globally. On a provincial scale, Ontario ranks in the top 20 states and provinces globally in the Fraser Institute Investment Attractiveness Index. So it is a great place to do business. And unlike Australia, there are some very strong taxation incentives, flow-through schemes that we will take advantage of when it does come time to raise capital again in the future. The prospectivity of Canada is huge. We believe there is still the potential to make big discoveries there, and you can see some of the success of other juniors in the district of late. And we believe we have some of the best ground from an exploration perspective anywhere in the world at the moment with what we've got at Pickle Crow, and I'll take you through a bit of that moving forward. And then obviously relative to valuations, we believe that properties in Canada are still undervalued. And if we're going to create any sort of value for M&A for our shareholders, we do believe that Canada is a great place to do it. Just the asset, what are we sitting on here? And it just amazes me. There aren't too many juniors that have a property like we have. So just if we look at the location, 400 kilometres north of Thunder Bay, which is a large town in Ontario. There's a population of 110,000 people there. And we're about 5 kilometres away from a little town called Pickle Lake, which has a permanent population around the 450 mark. 365-day-a-year access by sealed highway, and there's regular air services. So in terms of being able to access site, even through the midst of winter, not a problem. The tenure and ownership, we hold 500 square kilometres of some of the most prospective ground in Canada and globally. And what we've done through the earn-in agreement with First Mining Gold is we now hold 70% of this project, and we can elect at any time to move to 80% for the payment of $3 million Canadian. So we can get to 80% whenever we want. The inferred resource that we have, that is pretty impressive, sitting at a total of 6.6 million tonnes at 8.1 grams per tonne for 1.7 million ounces of gold. And you don't get too many 1.7 million ounce resources at that sort of grade globally. That also includes a high grade portion of vein material, which is over 1.5 million ounces above 10. But I guess what's been really impressive with this is the rate at which it's grown. We've grown the resource by 71% in just 9 months, and we are planning to put out a resource as at 31 December. As I mentioned before, this was one of Canada's highest grade historical mines. And it produced 1.5 million ounces of gold between 1935 and 1966 at an absolutely impressive grade of 16.1 grams per tonne. So it is an absolutely ripping deposit. And, you know, what we have there is there's 3 shafts historically, 2 of which are greater than 900 metres deep. And there's about 40 kilometres of lateral development under Pickle Crow. So, you know, there's quite a bit of underground infrastructure there that we can take advantage of. But one of the things that really stands out to me, and these are some of the photos that I took when I was on site just a couple of weeks ago, was the exceptional surface infrastructure that we have. Now, for a junior company with a resource of 1.7 million ounces at a grade of 8.1, to have this sort of kickstart to get a project off the ground is quite unique. So we have a camp, it's a pretty standard camp there, you can see there. And what you can also see is that we are very well surfaced from the energy perspective. So power has been an issue in Northern Ontario, and there's this new project called the AuTECO project, and that runs a massive hydro power line all the way from Southern Ontario to Northern Ontario, and it goes through our property. So there is ample clean energy available to us if we were to be able to start the project. The other thing that really gives us a head start, and I was very pleasantly surprised by the condition of this when I was on site, was there's a processing plant in place. So you can see there's some photographs that I've taken there. It's 225 tonnes per day, or about 80,000 tonnes per annum, so quite small. It was built in 2004 and never commissioned. And you can see the photos of the Nelson concentrators there. Just doesn't look aged at all. So it's all been inside and it's all been really well maintained. You can see there the ball mill and the crushing circuit. And we currently have a Synco on site as we speak, doing a review of this just to give us an idea of how much it would cost to get it turning again for when we advance the project, and also what potential there is to upgrade it. But, you know, you can see these photos, there is great infrastructure there on site. Just from a geological point of view, it really doesn't get any better than this address. So the key takeaway from this is we're in the Superior province, which is a very similar Archean craton to what people in this audience would be used to around Kalgoorlie. And it's broken into subdomains, and we're in one called the Uchi sub-province. And the key takeaway is we are in the Valley of the Giants, if you like. So we're in the same structural and geological corridor as great deposits such as Red Lake, the new Dixie discovery by a company called Great Bear, and other deposits as well. So, you know, from a geological address point of view, it just does not get any better than this. So we're very privileged to have a large exploration holding in this. We have the entire part of the Northern Pickle Lake Greenstone Belt. Just in terms of the mineralization, it's a very familiar style to most people in Australia, and it's very common of mineralization that you see in the Archean. There's 2 main styles of mineralization. One is the vein hosted material, which is very high grade, it's clean, it's free milling, low sulfide content, and fairly steep dipping narrow veins, which average around 1 to 1.5 meters wide, but very high grade. And probably one of the more overlooked styles of mineralization is the alteration hosted mineralization. And that's something that we're having a very close look at. The old timers really did focus on the narrow veins, but they've left a lot of 5 to 7 gram material behind in this alteration hosted material, which is typically hosted in banded irons. So what we've done with the resource is we've actually split it into 2 different styles. So even though globally we're sitting at 1.7 million ounces at 8 grams, there's 2 subcomponents to that. One is the quartz lodes, and you can see there we've got 1.5 million ounces at 10.1 grams per tonne, which is staggering grade for a resource. But what we've also got is material that is potential for bulk mining, and that's in the alteration banded iron hosted material. And what we've got there is about 242,000 ounces at a grade of 3.7. And some of that is very close to the surface and can be open pit mined potentially. But I guess the key takeaway from this is that in the last 9-10 months, we've added a total of 710,000 ounces at a cost of only $15.25 per ounce, which is just amazing. So as I mentioned before, we're currently in the midst of a 50,000 metre drill program, and we will be putting out a resource update as at 31 December. But on the exploration and growth side of things, we've made exceptional progress across all areas of the project pipeline, from generative through discovery and to the resource growth side of things. We've been out there really having a close look at some of our early stage exploration ground and collecting rock chips, doing early stage geophysical type work. And that is starting to yield results, as you can see from some of those rock chips. We've had the Carey discovery and the Tyson discovery, and I'll take you through that very shortly. And what we're seeing is there's still a lot of gold outside the resource as we drill. So the anticipation is that this resource will continue to grow. Now, in terms of the Tyson discovery, this is a new vein system that really does break the paradigms of the traditional exploration model. You can see here, we're mostly located around the Shaft 3 area, and you can get a sense for what we're dealing with here in the cross section we've got there. And it's a series of stacked veins. We're starting to get very good continuity on those grades. But one of the really interesting things is that rock unit in blue is conglomerate. And that was actually considered to be a less favourable host rock, but you can see some of the results that we've got in there, the 5.5 at 4, the 2.8 at 17.9, the 6.5 at 6.6. Now, that rock type wasn't actively explored for because it was considered to be less prospective. And now we're breaking that paradigm and finding good structures, good width, and good grade in it. So we'll continue to explore there. We currently have 2 rigs drilling this, and there will be more results coming out during this quarter on the Tyson vein system. So the Carey discovery was a result of some great work done by the site geology team. And it really is where the key controls of mineralization in this goldfield come together. So where we get these veins and the structures intersecting the reactive host rocks in the banded iron and very close proximity to the Albany porphyry, which gives you the rheology contrast. And you can see on this diagram some of those results. We will be releasing some more Carey results later in this quarter. And so far things look to be hanging together very well. The other activity that we'll really be working on quite intensively in the next quarter is our regional exploration. And this is really exciting. This is where we have the potential to make another discovery. As I mentioned before, we have the northern part of the Pickle Lake Greenstone Belt tied up. And the key takeaway from this is quite often you get parallel structures. Most of the work that's been done historically has been on the Core Mine Shear, which is the main Pickle Crow trend. But there's other structures there over the landscape that we have. And one of the things that's really amazing is that all the work that AuTECO's done is in that little orange box. So the 1.7 million ounces of resource that we have, all the drilling we've done, and the 1.5 million ounces of historic production. Yet we've got all that other ground to explore. And from what little work has been done out there, you can see some of the results there, which really do demonstrate that those structures are fertile. And they haven't been subjected to modern exploration. So we are making plans to get out there and to explore. We will be doing that over the winter period because it is a lot easier to drill when the lakes and the boggy land is frozen. So watch this space in the next 6 months. We will start drilling there and hopefully start delivering some good results from our regional areas. Look, just to wrap things up, our forward work plan, you can see here, this is what you'll expect from us in the next 6 months. We're going to continue to explore and grow this deposit through a dual track strategy. So we're going to have part of the focus on the resource growth and part moving into the regional areas. As I mentioned before, we've got 4 rigs on site, a 5th one coming, and we will be moving to a 6th rig in January. We'll be preparing a resource update towards, it'll probably come out in late January to early February, but that will be as at 31 December. And we're making some great progress on the permitting and that side of things as well to move forward to the advanced exploration stage. So, we've got a busy 6 months ahead, but watch this space for results because I think we will continue to deliver based on what I've seen on site in the last few weeks. So look, just to wrap it all up, really do believe that we are a compelling investment opportunity. The location is first class. The asset has a really long history of delivering high grade gold, but I don't think they've really scratched the surface of the true exploration potential of this camp. The upside is huge, just both regionally and in mine. And we've got the corporate team and the funding to deliver on this project. So as I mentioned before, we're really looking forward to the next 6 months, and we will continue to deliver results. Thank you very much.
Good on you, Darren. There you go. He's the only one that escaped my timer. That was 17 minutes. And since he's stuck in prison quarantine with a picture of the Busselton jetty, when we have the real thing, we'll have to forgive him. Team, that's it for today. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoy your drinks. Tomorrow morning, we kick off at 9:10, but we finish at 3. And if you have any friends, if you're local down here and you'd like to bring them along tomorrow, please do. We have food aplenty and space for everyone. So